So as I was saying, the males get quite aggressive when they do get to these buffalo, and the females are a little bit nervous, so they do move off and let the males feed. And I think with this drought that we've had, because there hasn't been a lot of food for these buffalo, they're not as fit and healthy as they usually would be, and they really have been taking strain. And the lions have been capitalizing on that. They've been hunting buffalo almost daily, which is incredible. Really, really interesting. So Judy H, you actually asked me earlier what happened to the other carcass. So we're now with the other carcass, so it's good to see that nothing is going to waste. Oh, and have a look, these cubs are all on the termite mound, getting quite vocal. There's so much happening here, I don't know where to look. All these cubs moving around. The lioness is contact calling. I'm going to keep quiet a little bit. I'd like you to try hear these sounds. Oh, look at that. Can you hear these lions, everyone?
Look at them all.
And here come the two females also following. Oh, look at this, everyone. They're right here. That's great. Laurie from Phoenix. Laurie wants to know at what age do these cubs actually start participating in the hunt. So Laurie, generally, from about 2 to 2.5 years, they'll probably start becoming a lot more active and involved in a hunt. Oh, this is a big lioness, everyone. That was close. There's one more cub just coming behind us. He'll probably come through shortly. Follow the rest of them. I wonder where they're going, if they're not going back to some water or just going to look for a place to lie down. Still very cool, so that's possibly why the lions are moving around so much. Yeah, it looks like the lionesses have just gone and they've just moved away from the kill a little bit. And it could possibly be because of what I spoke about with that male when he's feeding. Males tend to get a bit aggressive, and the females are just careful. This is fascinating. You can actually hear that male crunching on some of that buffalo, some of the bones. But it's amazing. I mean, they fed on an entire buffalo last night, and they've just walked through and they started feeding on the other one. So it really is very, very interesting. So, and we've got a question from a new viewer, Apex Bedsheet, and you'd like to know why they're not attacking us. So, one of the reasons is because these animals have become somewhat habituated to the vehicles. They know that there's no threat or danger from us towards them, so they allow us closer to them to view them, but we are still very sensitive, and we do try and give them their space. If they choose to walk past us, it's okay. Such a wonderful picture. And there's other lioness and cubs, and they're behind us, but they're moving back. So as I was saying, with them being used to the vehicles, they know there's no threat or danger from us, so they're comfortable with the vehicles being around. They're used to the smells and the sounds of voices, but we are still very sensitive. We don't try and get too close to them because we don't want them to act either aggressively or to run away. We never want them to react to the vehicles too much. And if you have a look carefully, if we do get too close, you'll see they are a bit nervous of the vehicles. So there's still a bit of fear in these animals towards the vehicles. So that's why we've got to be very careful and very respectful of all of these animals. And just remember that we're here to view them and appreciate them. So that's why these animals don't attack the vehicles usually, unless they do feel threatened, or perhaps if they're injured, just not comfortable, then you might get a reaction, but by that stage you probably shouldn't be hanging around them anyway. So alright, we're going to sit with these lions for a bit longer and just see what they get up to, how they move around, and if they head back to the carcass. While I do that, Taylor's got a tall animal she wants to show you.
Where is it?
There seems to be no shortage of giraffe at the moment. There isn't just this beautiful giraffe that we're looking at here, this young boy. There's actually quite a few of them around here, and hopefully we'll get to show you most of them. But isn't he lovely? Now, he's not the biggest giraffe that we've been seeing over the last couple of days. You can see by his color, he's sort of quite light, and his ossicones aren't very broad just yet. He's still getting there. Isn't this lovely? I'm just taking a time to listen to the beautiful sounds as well that are out in the bush. And you can even hear him feeding. Let's see if you can hear that. Might be a little bit too far away, but I can hear him crunching on those lovely crisp leaves this morning. Now, it's quite interesting as we look at these giraffe, and we've been seeing I'm quite confident in saying that we've been seeing more males at the moment than we've been seeing females. And if you look at the giraffe and the difference in their heights between the various sexes, between the male and female, you'll notice that obviously the male is much taller. He's almost a meter taller than the female. So they can stand at about 5.5 meters tall. So they like to feed off of the tops of the trees. And it's almost like they are not in direct competition of each other, because the females, which are then almost a meter, like I said, shorter than the males, they've got an entire new level of feeding to feed on. That's what I love about nature, is how everything sort of fits in between sort of each other. And then of course you get the elephants, which are not quite as tall as the giraffe, and their trunks are sort of restricted as to how high they can reach, and they probably feed at even a lower level than what the female giraffe feed on. And then of course you get the next biggest one, which I would probably say is a kudu, and then the kudu would come through and eat. The nyala, the bushbuck, the impala, and they all feed on different levels. But sometimes we have to say thank you to the elephants, which push over the beautiful big marula trees, which not all the animals can utilize and feed on. Sometimes even too tall for the giraffe. But we do know that the giraffe tend to prefer the acacia species of tree, and they're the largest pollinator of the acacias. Can you believe that? That a mammal is responsible for sort of pollinating this particular species of trees. I always find that so fascinating, because typically it's insects, birds, but a mammal. And I don't know if there really are too many other mammals that are able to do something like that. But I suppose when you stick your head into the acacias, when they've got those lovely yellow flowers on them, all that pollen, which is quite sticky, sticks on their faces. And that's something that I'm going to look for. Once these acacias start to get the little yellow flowers, I'm going to start checking the giraffe faces very carefully to see if we can find any pollen that is sort of stuck to around its nose, I presume, probably on its chin. Now, looking at this beautiful giraffe, I mentioned earlier that his little horns, his ossicones on top of his head, are quite small. They're not quite as robust as what they will get. And I know that JT was wondering, what are the function of those little horns, those little knobs on his head? So JT, they're called ossicones. So they're not a horn, really. It's really just a bony protrusion that's fused straight to their skull. Now, you must keep watching, because James has actually got a very nice giraffe skull that he has in the tent that we bring out every so often. So that's quite nice. Then you'll be able to see what they really look like. And they do indeed have a function. They are there for fighting. So the males use them. The females don't really utilize their ossicones too much. If they need to defend or fight off anything, they'll rather kick with their front and their back legs. So the males perform something called necking. And they swing their big necks and heads around, and they almost tangle up like a bit of a pretzel. And then they'll use those ossicones almost as weapons. And it doesn't seem like much, because it's sort of quite a slow-going process. It almost looks like they're fighting in slow motion. And they swing their necks and they try and dodge and dive, very much like the Matrix, sort of doing that backwards bend. But, JT, I have to tell you that those giraffe heads are extremely heavy. And with those little ossicones sticking out, it's almost like if you had to tie a really big weight onto a rope. And if you were to take that and swing it around and hit somebody with it, or hit an object, even hit a concrete wall, it would do quite a bit of damage. And they can actually kill each other. It's not very common, but every now and then, and so often, someone will get lucky enough to witness something like that. It is a serious battle when you find two big bulls fighting, very much like how we saw those Impala. Siberia Zumi, you have made my morning. So Siberia Zumi says today that if she were to open up an ice cream store, we would call it. It's a guy. Oh, sorry, Siberia Zumi. Sometimes it's so difficult to decipher your names. I apologize. So he's saying that he would call it Aussie cones and have a picture of a giraffe. I think that's very clever. I like that actually a lot. You better trademark that very quickly before somebody else gets your idea and steals it. I think that's lovely. There's another giraffe up ahead. Let's go and have a look and see if it is a male or a female. I hope it's a female. Because who have we got here? I think this is going to be so far it looks very dark. So my initial thought would go to male because of the enhancing of color. But let's double check. Yes, it is a male, but he's not a particularly big male. Here he is. He's got his head tucked away. Very much the same size of the male that we just saw. Now, he's starting to go beautiful dark chocolate brown now. You can see that. So he must just be a little bit older, maybe a year or two older than the one we just saw. But genetics also plays a big role. His ossicones seem to be a little bit broader, not much broader. So I think he's still relatively young. I don't think he's particularly old. Now, you can also look on their faces. You can see all of that calcification on their head that sort of makes them not look as elegant as the females do. They reckon that by the time a giraffe has reached the age of 10 years, his head will be 7 kilograms heavier just with all the calcification that forms on his face over there. Isn't that amazing? And all those sort of bumps and ridges help protect the skull. But if we go down to his front legs, we'll see he doesn't seem to have done too much fighting. This is always a good way to tell the age of a giraffe too. You can see there's a couple of sort of bumps and scabs forming on his legs and a few little cuts. And on his, let's go up towards what would be his knees. I just want to zoom in onto the, see there? No. So he doesn't look very young. So I reckon he's just about to come into the prime of his life. Typically, an older giraffe bull would have serious sort of scabbing all the way down its front of its legs, because they tend to take the brunt of the force when they are boxing with each other, I suppose you could say, and kicking each other and swinging their heads at each other. But he doesn't seem to have had too many injuries. They don't actually look too bad at all. Maybe it's just from sparring with another male, and perhaps it got a little bit too rough, and he sustained a couple of injuries like that. But he's still got a long way to grow, to go. His neck is quite slender still. He hasn't really got too much muscle on his shoulder. But he's looking lovely. I think he's got an advantage that his coat is looking so nice and dark already. But I think it will be maybe a wee bit longer until he's going to be able to really challenge the males. Now he's using his tongue quite nicely. Let's see if he does it again. He was sticking it out quite a bit. Here we go, you can see. And that tongue is so long, it's almost 40 centimeters in length, and they're able to poke it out and bring those leaves straight into its mouth. Now I wonder why it's doing that, because there's lots of thorns on this tree. Normally when there are quite a few thorns, they sort of just pick delicately around the different leaves. But maybe this one is a tough giraffe and is not really bothered too much. Now, Orlando, you're wondering how on earth do these animals that just eat vegetation get so big? Isn't it quite incredible? It's like you look at an elephant. Now, the giraffe, though, considering how much they eat, they've got very, very a good digestive system. Now, I find it more unbelievable that something like an elephant that has got a great digestive system is able to get to that size. It's quite amazing. Look at the dinosaurs. Most of the dinosaurs as well were all herbivores. They must be doing something right. There must be something in those plants that allow them to get to this size. You can see there's a little oxpecker jumping around on the giraffe's neck as well. No, now he's gone further around the corner. Let's see if we can move slightly as well. They seem to be nice and relaxed with us. I suppose I shouldn't jinx it though. Let me quickly just reverse over here and we'll go up a little bit further and perhaps we'll be able to get a view of this lovely giraffe's head. Siberia Zumi, I'm going to come to your ice cream parlor. If your signature flavor is going to be marula, I think that's a grand idea. He's very much enjoying this tree. He's just going further and further into it. And our friend the oxpecker doesn't look like it's working too hard today as well, just taking it easy on this sort of cloudy day. He's just sitting on the other side of the giraffe's neck, so we can't see the oxpecker anymore. And you can quite clearly see the thorns on this tree. It's very impressive. I don't know. I think if I had to try and... No, where is the thorns? Oh, has it moved on to another one now? I think he's feeding on a different tree on the other side, I wonder, because the one that he was feeding on looked like it had horrible thorns on it. I'm just having a look around as well. It doesn't look like we're going to get any more rain. It seems as though the clouds have now lifted quite a bit. And you can see that it is lightening up quite a bit now as we zoom out of this giraffe, which is great for us. We're able to see again. But thank you very much, Mr. Giraffe, for putting on such a fantastic show for us today. And Oxpecker, thank you to you too. But I believe that Byron has now left the lions. Let's go across and see what his plan is for the rest of the morning.
I have left the lions, everyone, and the reason for that is they just went and settled down a little bit, and we wanted to give some of the other vehicles a chance to see them, and we will go back later though. We'll go past a little bit later and just see what they do get up to, and we had a lovely big herd of Impala right next to us, and they scattered just before you joined us because a little daycare came running out the bush and startled all the Impala, and the Impala just scattered. There is a Wildebeest up ahead too that I'll show you. Yeah, there's one over there. There's been a few of them around. Speaking about the Impala, I know people are giving their predictions for the first Impala lamb to be seen or to be born. And I wonder, so I know James, I think was the 6th or the 7th. Oh, hang on everyone, we've got zebra and wildebeest up ahead. Have a look at that. So James is the 7th and VM is the 20th. And their predictions on the first Impala lamb. So I'm going to say the 11th of November. Yeah, the 9th of November. The 9th of November is when we will see the first Impala.
13th.
And Brian says the 13th. Oh dear, Brian. You way off. So it is now official. They have written it down in final control. So we will see. And apparently there is huge money riding on it. Or not. And it's nice to see. So apparently the Impala is named after me. Lord Byron Impala. So it's so nice to see these wildebeest and zebra together, and especially going into summer now, you tend to see this a lot. And I've mentioned it a few times, everyone, but these wildebeest and impala are considered plains game, which means they enjoy these open clearings, and also they just generally enjoy moving around with each other a lot. And the reason for that is because, for one, they'll alert each other if there are predators around, and the other thing is they feed on the same vegetation. They are all grazers, so they all feed on grass. So at the moment they're finding these little spots, these little areas where the green grass shoots have jumped out and have come through. And what happens, I can hear Taylor behind us. Taylor's wandering about looking for animals. So all these green grass shoots after the rain, everything that's come through now is ideal for these animals. So that's why you do see or start seeing a lot of them together. I love seeing the zebra too. Oh, there's another cuckoo that I can hear in the distance that we haven't seen yet. We've been quite fortunate with the cuckoos, but there's one called the Class's cuckoo, spelled K-L-A-S, Class's cuckoo. And Class's cuckoo has got an interesting call. Sounds like he's going, Mikey, 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 Mikey. Love to see one of those too. Very beautiful, very, very beautiful bird. Also some green in it. And interesting that they describe it in the book, the call, as Mikey. And Mikey is an Afrikaans word. So almost Dutch. It originates from Dutch, and Mikey means friend. So this bird is going friend, friend the whole time. But that's what Mikey means. So. JT has asked a question. I wonder if this is my friend JT. But JT wants to know, can the zebra be tamed like horses? No, JT, they cannot. Zebra are fairly wild, and also apparently their back structure is not very, very strong like that of the horse. So you would not necessarily be able to ride a zebra. And I don't think they're very good work animals, so you couldn't necessarily use them on a farm or a ranch. So no, you wouldn't be able to tame zebra like horses. I mean, you could probably keep them around, but you wouldn't necessarily be able to use them for anything. It's still a very cool breeze. The temperature's still quite low at the moment, which is nice. It's lovely having cool weather for a change, because it can get so hot here. We've had these really, really warm days. Now times have changed, everyone, so it's now live at 5 a.m. in the morning, and we finish at 8. And then in the afternoons, and that's Central African time, and then in the afternoons we are live at 4 o'clock, I believe, and finish at 7. So a little bit earlier in the morning and later in the afternoon. I'm not so sure about the earlier in the morning. This morning was a bit tricky to get going. So we now have to get up around 4 a.m. just before that, start getting ready, do our makeup and Alright, shall we continue and see what else we can find? It's lovely to see the zebra and the wildebeest. Bill, that's a very interesting question. And I've never thought of it actually. Bill was saying, would I say that when these animals start herding together and in larger groups, is it probably time for them to give birth? Bill, I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. Is because I know zebra don't necessarily have a strict breeding season. They can give birth throughout the year. So the wildebeest are always together in herds anyway, and the wildebeest have got a strict breeding season. So they usually give birth around towards the end of November through to the beginning of December. Usually the beginning of December, first week or two of December. So Bill, I don't think so. I think animals will probably move into areas because they are more open and easier to look for predators and warn each other when they have got youngsters. So you might get more animals congregating in open areas because it's from a safety perspective it makes more sense. But I don't think they do it because they're giving birth, if that makes sense. I think because the zebra, they can fall any time of the year. So I don't think, I think it's mainly got to do with the food, Bill. It's mainly got to do with the food and what they feed on. Oh, just heard a ground hornbill calling somewhere. I can hear them calling, but they're quite far. Can't see where they are. Just in the distance off to my right. So from that big ground hornbill that we can hear, Taylor's got another big bird she would like to show you.
We've come across a small group of vultures, and of course you can see them sitting all over this beautiful dead tree. But how is the one on the left with its wings open so nicely, just trying to dry them off? in the wind and having a good groom. Now it's quite amazing to see these vultures because it's the first time that they actually look clean, so I'm glad that they got a bit of rain on them. And if you have a look at that one, you can actually see quite a bit of white hair surrounding on its neck, on the top of its head. I suspect that this is still a juvenile. We typically see that sort of white fluff quite prominently on the youngsters, and as they start to get older it sort of disappears and you'll just see a little bit of it. And it takes them up to about 6 years to become and get their full adult colors. So I think that this one is almost there, just because it's got too much sort of white fluff around its head. It is losing it slightly, and they'll always have a little bit. You can see that there is a slight breeze now as the feathers sort of ruffle in the wind, and that's a really good way to dry them. You see, unfortunately the vulture, unlike the water birds, the ducks and the herons, they've got a oil gland which they're able to sort of preen their feathers with and gives them the waterproof coating. Now vultures and most of the other birds don't actually have that at all. So when you get wet in the rain, well, you've got to find a nice tree where there's a bit of a breeze and either ruffle your feathers up, which we normally see the starlings and the drongos doing. And then of course when you're a beautiful big bird like this and your wingspan is well over 2 meters, well then you've got to open those wings up and let the wind drift through. There's another one. Look at them, they're all doing it. This is quite beautiful. That one looks like it's having a sleep in the process. Its head is down and probably underneath its wing. You can see it just, there we go, maybe it's actually grooming. You can see it moving around a bit now. That's quite lovely. There's a bit of mottling on the wings, which you can see as well on these vultures, which is quite pretty. This is so beautiful, and it's lightening up so nicely. This one's not too bothered just yet. And we did smell something dead as well in the distance as we came through this little drainage line. So perhaps there, unfortunately, another buffalo has succumbed to its injuries. But isn't that absolutely beautiful? What an incredible pose, especially when you've got such an enormous wingspan like that. Hello, cheers. Hi. How's it going? Probably going to struggle, and you might get little gaps in between the feathers. Lovely. I'm going to turn around for us. Oh, that's beautiful. Now you can clearly see why they are called white-backed vultures. There's usually not very much of an opportunity. You sort of just have to take our words, because they can get confused by the Cape vulture. But of course, the Cape vulture, which is quite rare, I don't think I've ever even seen a Cape vulture before. Perhaps once, if I remember when I was really young, down in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. They lack the beautiful white feathers that you see just above the tail feathers of this lovely vulture. And sort of for such big birds, they often get that reputation of being quite clumsy and ditzy. I think that they're very intelligent. Like I said, I think we always underestimate the intelligence of the animals, except the wildebeest. Those ones, I'm not convinced that they're super intelligent. But this is something that we don't always get to see. I've actually seen it a couple of times since I've been here, but to have them posing so beautifully and at various angles, well, now I'm sure that you will never ever misidentify a white-backed vulture again, because you've literally seen every angle of these birds. Something that we don't always hear. We hear all the other birds making a noise, but we don't really hear the vultures sort of letting off calls in the distance or territorial calls. We really only hear them squabbling over carcasses. Seems as though we're having a birding day. Let's go over to Byron, who's got a lapwing of some sort.
Hello everyone, again we've got a bronze wing courser. Now this is very exciting. I don't know when last I saw a Bronze-winged courser. Sounds like there's a lion in the vehicle with us. It's my stomach. Feeling a bit peckish. That is a beautiful, beautiful bird. And it's mainly nocturnal. That's why we don't see them very often. Oh, that is really, really great. I've not seen a bronze-winged courser in quite some time. Look how they wander through looking for food. They've got very large eyes, and that's distinctive of nocturnal birds. All the nocturnal birds have got very, very large eyes. There's another one coming from the right, Brian. So there's a pair here. Basically the same line that the other one took, but you can see how well they disappear. So I'm so glad we caught a glimpse of them. I just saw it moving and it looked a little bit different, a little bit smaller than some of the other ground birds you get around here. They've also got a wonderful call, the bronze-winged courser. Sure, bronze-winged courser. I think it's a something like that, but it does sound something like a bronze-winged courser. Let me actually, while we're here, let me get my app and just see if I can play that call for you. There's a bronze-winged courser, and let's see how accurate I was. Yeah. I mean, you can't tell the difference from my call and the bird call. Oh, so lovely bird. That's very nice. And I hope all of you that are watching have been ticking your bird lists. I know we have got some serious birders that do watch, and some are over 100 species already, just from watching Safari Live, which is great. And I hope a lot of these little birds that we've been finding over the last 10 days have added to your list. Charles, you would like to see a lilac-breasted roller, and you're looking forward to seeing them, and you've asked, are they rare? So, Charles, no, they are not. They are. There's some Impala off to the left here, just through the thicket. Just having a look. There they go. I just want to see if I can get a nice view of them for you quickly. There we go. So Charles, there we go. Oh, lovely. I'll have a look around now, but there's a lot of lilac-breasted rollers around. They are not rare at all. And they are beautiful birds, and they're found through most parts of southern Africa. Impala just feeding on some of the green shoots that have come out there. And just on that, we've been speaking about the birds. Taylor's got another beautiful bird that she'd like to show you.
We're having so much luck with the birds just on this road that we're driving on. So we had the beautiful white-backed vultures, and well, if this beauty would poke its head up, I wouldn't even need to tell you what it was. There we go. I'm sure you all jumping for joy saying, Bateleur, Bateleur, because that's exactly what this bird is. And it is stunningly just sitting up there, once again, like the vultures, having to dry off its feathers. Maybe we'll see it open its wings. Wouldn't that be beautiful? And we know that the Bateleurs have got that lovely white wing paneling on the inside of their wings. That would be really, really beautiful to see. Now, it's not a particularly large eagle. They have a wingspan of only about 1.8 meters, which is smaller than what we see. So the African fish eagles, even larger than that, up to 2.5 meters in length. Of course, the vultures we saw, their wingspan is over 2 meters. And not heavy as well. Only about just less than 3 kilograms, I would say. But when they fly, they do, of course, look so beautiful. And I think that they have to be the most beautiful eagle that we see in the skies, just because of that lovely red facial skin, which is so unique. No other birds have got that. But when these ones are quite young, now we're going to start seeing a lot of juveniles and things flying around, and that's probably one of the hardest things, even for some of the experts. I think they find it quite difficult. Just a quick glimpse. Now, and I'm sure you've heard this time and time again from all of us about the Bateleurs having very short tails. Now, if you're still uncertain and you're seeing one that's just plain brown, or sort of mottled brown feathers, because that's what they look like when they are juveniles, something that you should look out for is, of course, that facial skin seems to be sort of be a bluish-grey color on their face. Now, I've seen it, and I've done it a couple of times where I've misidentified a tawny or called a juvenile Bateleur a tawny eagle when it indeed hasn't been one. And that's where you can, of course, look at the skin around the face, because it's still there, it's still quite prominent. But it hasn't got the coloration yet. The legs will be also quite grey in colour, very much matching the facial plumage. And we know, of course, the tawny eagle has got yellow legs and a yellow beak. But at a quick glance, it can very easily be confused with one of those. Now, that's something I'd like to find, is perhaps a Bateleur nest. I don't know, has anybody ever found a Bateleur nest in the area over the last couple of years? David said no, but I know a couple of you have been watching for quite some time, and I'd love to know, maybe if you remember, even if it was a few years ago, you can let me know by either hashtagging Safari Live on Twitter, or you can send us an email, questions@WildEarthTV. Now, I'm not even surprised that we've seen the vultures and the Bateleurs so close to each other. It's quite typical that we see the two of them. With the Bateleur not flying as high as the vultures can, they're often the first ones to spot the carcass. So vultures will sometimes not only just hang around following predators like lions around, but sometimes they'll even use these beautiful Bateleurs as, of course, an opportunity. Let's see if we can get one more view. I'm wondering if we can get sort of a front-on view. Let's see if we've got a gap over here. I think we may. Oh, it's quite tight. Yes. Oh, here we go. Actually, it's very nice. You can see the lovely feet now. Look at that. That's a much better view of this beautiful Bateleur. There we go. Now you can clearly see what I was talking about. In case this is maybe your first time seeing a Bateleur, remember we've got lots of new people joining us all the time, and welcome to you if this is your first time. And we encourage you to try and start a bird list of some sort. That's always a nice thing to do. Like I said, one of the prettiest eagles. Very, very easy to identify. Now, they should start to lay their eggs soon. They will join up. They're also monogamous. And it's amazing how at different parts of the continent they lay their eggs at different times. But around in this area, it seems to be from December to about January, maybe pushing as far in as February. And then, of course, they could lay a bit earlier, so sort of around November. And they typically only have one egg. But we'll have to keep an eye on, perhaps see if we see any Bateleurs swooping down, landing on tall trees. And they very much, like the rest of the eagles do, make those beautiful big platform nests that we see on the tops of trees. Sometimes some eagles make their nests on sort of the edge of cliff faces, very much sort of like owls, and utilize any large structure, as it is tough to try and find a tree with enough leaves and little sticks that can hold your weight. Remember, it won't just be one of them up there. Sometimes you might have both adults sitting up on the nest, one sitting on the eggs, other one scouring for food, and then, of course, the chicks. Lovely. Oh, Elaine, you want to know how many different types of eagles that we have? We see so many. Should we try and count them? I'll try my best. Let's go. So we've got Bateleur. We see the martial eagle. We see, of course, the booted eagle, which I believe that you saw the other day. That's quite special. I've only seen a couple of those. We see the tawny eagle. We see... I'm going to actually have to get my book out. Let's get my book out. Let's stop here. Let's have a very quick look because I'm going to forget exactly who we see in this area. I think occasionally you could probably see a stepped eagle as well, but I think that might be quite special. Let's go to eagles. Right, let's find the front and let's count them like that. I think that'll be the easiest. Those are vultures. Let's go to the next page and here we should start. Well, we definitely see the African fish eagle, so that's one. Sometimes, I don't know, have anyone ever seen an osprey here before? I suppose they could occur here. I know they like sort of palms and riverine thickets because they do like to fish, the osprey, so I'm not 100% sure. We see the Bateleur, so we'll leave osprey out until we get confirmation. That's 2 from this page. And we go to the next page. I don't think you'll see the Vervet's eagle here, as they like mountains. So if you have to go further and closer towards the Drakensberg, sorry, I keep losing the page there. Then, of course, we see the martial eagle, a crowned eagle. I've never seen a crowned eagle around here. That would be very, very lucky to see one of those. We've got 3 so far. Next page. Well, we definitely see Mr. and Mrs. Wahlberg's. We then see the tawny eagle, which makes 5. You can see how many different types of morphs there are as well with the various tawny eagles. Let's go to the next page. 5, and then, like I said, I think occasionally you could see a stepped eagle down here. I don't think it's impossible. So that is 6. The lesser spotted eagle, now that I'm not sure. This is one I actually haven't ever seen before. It's the lesser spotted eagle, the one in the middle. If you go up a little bit. Or even the great spotted eagle, the one below it. I haven't seen either of those. So I don't know. You'll have to let me know. Has anybody ever seen either of those eagles before? The lesser spotted eagle could definitely occur around here. Let's go. So we're on 6. We'll leave those 2 out. Long-crested eagles. I haven't seen any since I've been up in the sands. I saw lots of them down in my time in the Eastern Cape. African hawk eagle, we definitely see. That's number 7. That's the middle one. Ayers hawk eagle, that's definitely a possibility. They just occur around here. So that's 8. And then, of course, I saw that, I think I saw that somebody said that they saw a booted eagle. Definitely possible. They're quite common throughout South Africa. That's 9. Brown snake eagle. Brent apparently saw the booted eagle. Okay. Brown snake eagle we definitely get. That's 10. Black-chested snake eagle. Now, I haven't seen any down here. And I think we might just be out of range for the black-chested snake eagles to be here, but not impossible, right? And then we've got southern banded snake eagle. That unfortunately doesn't occur here, and neither does the western. So we're on 10 so far, and that's the end of the eagles. That's the end of that. There we go. So we see at least 10 of the different eagles, maybe 12 for a couple that we're uncertain of course. But that's quite a few eagles, and it's quite nice to actually go through and have a look and see who's who in the zoo. And of course we see the various eagles at the different times of the year. We don't always see all of them. Some of them are migrants, some of them are Palearctic migrants, which means that they travel far and wide across the ocean. Some of them are just intra-African migrants. So during our summer, they sort of go a little bit further north, and then when it's summer in the other African countries, the northern African countries, then they come back down to us. That heat is quite unbearable. So it's sometimes nice to come back down here. But we will carry on and see what else we've got. Lots of footprints of, looks like Impala. Looks like a really big herd of Impala crossed over here, possibly before the rain last night or this morning. I don't know when it started raining either. Now, I'm in desperate search of some elephants this morning. We're going to look far and wide for some elephants. And let's go back across to Byron.
So we haven't seen too much else just yet. We're driving around and scanning to see what else we can find. But I do think what we're probably going to do is start making our way back towards those lions, just get an update, see if everyone else has had a good view, and see if we can't get to spend some time with them before the end of the show. You never know, we might still bump into something around here. I'm looking for a lilac-breasted roller because I know some of you want to see one. So Lord John wanted to know, why is the dashboard covered? So it's because of the rain, and we had a fair amount of drizzle this morning. It wasn't heavy rain, but some drizzle. And what happens is we've got a lot of electronics around the front. I've got a little screen and that, so I can see what Brian is focusing on when I'm talking about the animals, and there's the radios and so on. So that's just a cover, just to protect some of the electronics. Some buffalo tracks around here. There's plenty of buffalo in the area, and I think that's why these lions are so happy, because there's a lot of buffalo, and as you've seen, there's a lot of food then, because they've been hunting them and been very successful. I thought I saw one. They were fresh tracks, so I'm sure there's a buffalo around here somewhere. What's there through there? Oh, there's a warthog and a buffalo. There's the buffalo, everyone. Is that a little one? I can't see clearly. Hang on, let me just get my binoculars here. No. Looks like a younger one at the back, but not a little one. There's also a zebra through the back, but these are the buffalo. Those tracks I just saw must be them, because those were fresh tracks crossing the road, and we've just managed to find them here. There was a warthog that just ran off in front of those buffalo. It'd be nice to see. It looked like quite a big warthog too. I'm just going to roll forward a little bit. These buffalo are quite deep in the thicket. Look at that. It's amazing as Brian zooms out how difficult it is to spot them. Isn't that incredible? Thanks, Brian. Let's see if we can find this warthog. I think it may have moved off. The warthog can be quite shy. And a little skittish when the vehicles come around. Some of them get used to it and they don't mind it, but usually they run off quite quickly. Looks like that warthog's run off. Some Impala up ahead. I'm really enjoying this cool weather. And Brian and I were just chatting. Oh, watch him jump. That's fantastic. And now this is actually interesting, everyone, and what I'd like to show you is this Impala very close to us, off to the right. No, not the male, a little bit further right, Brian, if you don't mind. There we go, this young male is coming into the frame. There we go. Have a look at that coat. See, it looks very ruffled, and I think one of the reasons is because of the rain, so they did get a bit wet. However, if you look at some of the others, they have got that wonderful sheen at the moment. Like that one, not as bad. But what happens is, the Impala have got this amazing technique of keeping themselves warm. And what they do is the Impala contract muscles in their skin, and it causes that hair to stand up, just like we can see over there. And with that hair standing up, they trap air underneath that hair, and it acts as an insulation layer to warm up the Impala. So especially in cold winter mornings, you'll see them all look like they've been brushed the wrong way. And just like we can see here, I think this is possibly more related to the rain, and they're probably a bit wet, as you can see there. Yep, that's because of the rain. However, I do think they're causing that hair to stand up a little bit just to warm up. And then what happens is later, as the day starts warming, they will then drop or relax those muscles, drop the hair, and then they get that beautiful sheen again that we are used to seeing on the Impala. Very soft coat from what it looks like, and it is soft. Isn't that interesting? It all looks like they've been brushed the wrong way. So it's amazing how the animals are able to adapt to the environment where they are in and into different climatic conditions. Okay, I'm going to get an update and head towards the lions. While I do that though, excuse me, while I do that, Taylor's got a dung beetle to show you.
I almost squished this little fella, and he's rolling down the road towards us. You can see it's quite a large dung beetle. And look at all the little, those may be stingless bees, I wonder, that if they aren't following that ball around. Oh, well, yes, that's very loud. You heard Byron calling Aubrey, of course. And there's lots of little critters on the ground. Now, I wonder where this little one is going to take it. I think that whatever those little insects are flying around the dung beetle, I think they're just trying to get the moisture that's coming off of that dung. Well, they're going to have a tough time, though, because it's now covered in sand. Look at them. They're following this dung beetle. Now, he doesn't seem to have a lady friend, so perhaps maybe they've already started digging balls and sort of laying an egg inside the ball. Careful. And that's maybe where she is. Sometimes that happens. Normally, once he finds a mate and he starts rolling balls, he'll take it to an area where he'll burrow a whole lot of balls, and he remembers exactly where to go, and that's perhaps where the female is waiting with the others. You're not having much luck today, fella. Where are you off to now? Are you done with that ball? Does it upset you too much this afternoon? Oh my goodness. It's like it's drank an energy drink or something. They always look like they're going in fast forward with every sort of movement that they do. And push. And I just think it's amazing. And they have to be some of the most patient and persistent creatures out there. I've watched dung beetles go up the steepest of steep hills. Let's see if it's able to push it up here. Get almost 3/4 of the way up and then unfortunately roll all the way down. Now, it seems as though there was a buffalo walking there, which is making it quite difficult for this dung beetle as it's fallen in its track. Come on, you can do it. Come on, Fred. No, I think he's trying to get underneath. Are you trying to get underneath it, or are you just going to bury it right there? I need to go and investigate. I'm jumping out the vehicle. I shall see you now. I'm going to go and have a look and see what this dung beetle is doing. No, I've lost it. Where did it go, David? Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. I was watching it on the monitor, of course, and then I forgot where it went. Are you just going to dig your home here? It looks like it. No? Are you trying to get underneath? I think that's exactly what this little dung beetle was trying to do, because I think it was trying to get underneath it so that it could push it up and over this little ledge. And it doesn't seem to be doing too much of a good job. Come on, it's not a steep hill. You can do it. I don't want to help you out because you need to learn. You need to get strong. You're looking for another route, and that's all this little thing will do, is it will go round and round and round until it can find a spot where it can indeed cross. Now, you're not very good at this. This isn't a particularly talented dung beetle, unfortunately. Like I said, I've seen them going up hills that are like this with absolutely no problem, and this one is having a very hard time with just the smallest dung beetle. Well, I suppose we should probably leave him and let him carry on with his day. Good luck with your adventure. I suspect that that dung beetle is going to be there for quite some time, though. It seems to be quite a big challenge. Right, let me try and slide in now. Let's carry on from the dung beetle. There is the plug. And I'm in again. No. Not a very intelligent one. It's just going back to the same place that it was, trying to push it up the same ramp that it didn't succeed the first time round. Now, still no sign of elephants. I've hardly actually seen any elephant tracks this morning. But I wonder, with all that wind that we had yesterday afternoon, that perhaps they maybe didn't go down into the drainage and spend most of the morning down there. Also maybe keeping out of the rain. The elephants don't mind the rain too much. Now, I heard that Tingana is indeed in sounds like in Cheetah. And because it's a nice cool day, I thought we would just very quickly come and just check the boundary again, just to see if perhaps anybody hasn't come out. But I haven't also seen too much vehicle activity racing or heard it racing down the road, and I suspect we would hear a lot of that if Mr. Tingana were to come this way. But there's no harm in just double and triple checking. Right, we're going to carry on just along Gowrie Main for just a little bit longer, and then we shall venture back off into Djuma. And while I check the stretch of road, let's go back across to Byron.
So we're almost back in the position where those lions were. It sounded like they moved around a little bit. Let's just have a look. Not far, everyone, so let's see where they are. I'm sure they're still around that carcass though. Or maybe the male is in fact. So Gamer has asked, oh hang on a second, there's a beautiful roller, but it's not the lilac-breasted roller. Have a look up in the tree on the branch there. Oh, it just dropped an insect. Wait, it might come up again. And it caught something. There it goes. Okay, it's sitting up at the top there now. Brian has got it, I think. I'm just going to try and get a little bit closer for him. There we go. Oh. Look at that. Look at that. So, Charles, this is not a lilac-breasted roller. Look at that big dung beetle that this roller just caught. Isn't that incredible? This is a purple roller. Wow, it's got a big dung beetle. They must have very powerful beaks to be able to crush that exoskeleton of the dung beetle. Amazing. She ate that whole thing. But you see how it caught it in flight. Just flew down and grabbed that dung beetle. That is amazing. So we witnessed a kill, everyone. We got to see a purple roller catch a dung beetle. That was great. What were we talking about just before that? Oh dear, I've lost my train of thought. Ah yes, the black-maned lions. Oh, hang on everyone, there's something. Oh, there might be an owl, hang on. Where did those birds go? Oh, they flew off. The fork-tailed drongos were mobbing something, and oh, they still are. You know what, everyone? I think there might be an owl here. I'd love to show you. There's that purple roller again that Brian is focused on. Okay, I'm just having a quick scan here, because the drongos were mobbing something, and the starlings, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little owl, possibly a little pearl spotted owl. I saw them chase it off. Oh, it's so thick, everyone. I can't, unfortunately can't see. So I can't show you where. I think there might have been a little owl that just flew in there. Interesting to see. Okay, so we're back with these lions. So getting back to the question on the black maned lions, I have seen black maned lions, but not in Ethiopia. So we also have in southern Africa, we have the Kalahari black maned lions, very well known lions, because the Kalahari black maned lions tend to be very, very big males, and they do have much darker manes. And I've seen a number of these black maned lions around in the Kalahari, and I've had some wonderful sightings of them. And they are big, and they do have these beautiful dark manes. And so we do get them in southern Africa too, not just in Ethiopia. There's, okay, everyone, lions, still one or two of them lying on the termite mound where we were earlier. Oh, fantastic. And there they are, straight ahead of us, right on top of the termite mound. Some of the cubs and the one lioness. They've been moving around here quite a lot, it looks like it. Beautiful female. They're still very, very active, everyone, and I think it's because of the weather, with it just still being so cool. And also, we need to remember, it's still very early. You know, it's not even 8 o'clock yet. So, these lions are still quite active, moving around, which is fantastic. And that's what I always say. It's so nice to get out early, and you do get to see, generally you see more activity from the predators. Look at that little cub. Oh, listen, everyone. Just listen. You might hear. So X-Ranger would like to know, how big are these cubs at the moment in relation to maybe a domestic pet? So X-Ranger, I know sometimes it's difficult to gauge size through the camera, and not against us, for example. So if I have to show you, I would say these little cubs, if one was standing where I am, the cub would probably be about this tall, so to shoulder or to head, so next to me. So if it was standing here, so they're still fairly small. I mean, but that's what hound would be that size, Brian? A little collie, perhaps, or a.
Bull terrier.
Like a bull terrier, do you think so? Yeah, about maybe the height of a bull terrier, maybe a bit smaller, but yeah, about that. Okay, we're going to sit with these lions for a little bit. Taylor's got some primates she'd like to show you.
I seem to always have so much luck with these naughty vervet monkeys, and they're all around us, jumping on top of the trees. These youngsters are being quite cheeky and sort of trying to challenge us, I suppose. I'm not too sure of what we are just yet. Hear them jumping around from tree to tree. Hear that little one holding on, eating the bark. So very much like how we see the elephants eating the cambium layer. You can see that nice red bark there. So will the monkeys and anybody else that is able to pull it off. It's very high in nutrients. No? And are you going to try and eat some more? Yes, it looks like it's trying to reach and strip some more of that cambium. But there's so much for them to eat at the moment. Not too much fruit just yet. They're going to have to wait for the next set of fruits, which will be the marulas. But there's plenty of nice grasses, a couple of flowers coming out too, and of course the lovely green leaves. Now, there we go. It's got a bit of bark. It didn't like that piece. Spat it out. And also, as they're looking through these bits of bark, this little one might find the odd little grub or beetle, maybe even a scorpion, which they will eat. They eat a variety of different things. Something that we don't see these monkeys doing, the vervets and the baboons doing, even the samangos, is we never see them dangling from their tails. And I don't know if any of you have ever wondered why on earth don't our monkeys dangle from their tails. Now you get different types of monkeys. You get the New World monkeys, and then you get the Old World monkeys, which is what we've got here in South Africa. And unfortunately, they're not able to use their tails like an extra limb, like the New World monkeys are able to do. They're able to hang for them. Sort of, I think the lemurs and things can do some strange things like that. I always found that quite amazing. You can see them, they're having a great time around here. And this seems to be my monkey spot. Every time we come around to this area, actually I need to double check what it's called. Yes, when we're around Treehouse Dam, I think that and Twin Dams Road, we always seem to have lots and lots of luck with the vervet monkeys. And this is where the monkeys should be, sitting out here, foraging for their own food. You can actually hear them. Let's see if we can hear them chatting away. No, they've stopped now. They were doing a bit of communication, sort of a strange noise, but I'm not going to try and make it because I don't think I could do it very well. No, come on, little one, stay here. We like watching you. And it's something that maybe we'll have to have a competition of over the next few days, is perhaps trying to do a vervet monkey impersonation, but not yet. I need to practice. I need to consult my vervet monkey calling specialist, and I'll have to do some vocal training over the next few days. If you give me maybe the day, I'll learn how to do it. And tomorrow morning I'll try and do a vervet monkey call for you, and we'll challenge whoever else is driving with me. But seeing as though the vervets have disappeared down into the drainage line, I think let's go back across to my favorite group of lions.
These little cubs are still quite active. There's one or two playing around. They were just on the log, on the tree stump. They've moved. There they are, but they're jumping on the mother. And Taylor, the vervet monkey call, and I know you were saying you're going to try to do it tomorrow. Well, let me see if I can help you a little bit. That's the sound of a vervet monkey. Taylor gave me a thumbs up. Watch that little cub. Yeah, there we go. Look at them play. That is just so wonderful, everyone. I mean, you've got to say they are just so cute. They're adorable. They really are. Floppy ear. That's Taylor's favorite. I think I'm going to call it Flip Flop. Richard from New York, you've asked if I believe that I think I heard it correctly, the Cape lion. Is that what you referred to? The Cape lion. You wanted to know if I think they still exist. The Cape lion. Oh dear. Now, Richard, I'm not entirely sure that I've ever heard of a Cape lion. And I wonder if it was just perhaps another term given to the Southern African lion. Richard, I really don't know. Never heard of it. And I do think you get slight variations in genetics of these animals, depending on the areas. And one of the examples that I can think of quickly is the black rhino. Now, black rhino are found throughout Africa, and they are the ones that are slightly more aggressive and a bit more temperamental compared to the white rhino. Those are the two species we have in Africa. The black rhino is also known as the hooked lip rhinoceros. But what I've found interesting is that we also have desert black rhino. So they obviously occur in desert areas, and they've adapted for those conditions. So they look completely identical. They look the same. There's no difference. Apparently there's only a slight genetic variation between the two subspecies. So I say subspecies because they are the same species, but you might get a slight variation depending on where they are found. And I think that's possibly what you're referring to when you're asking about a Cape lion. And occasionally what happens is it's based on where they occur and where they're found. Like those Kalahari black maned lions, they're found in northwest South Africa, so in the northwestern corner, and then up into the western parts of Namibia, and maybe a little bit of Botswana. And I think that is a slight subspecies too, or just genetic variation because of these big black manes that occur out in that area. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Cape lion is just an old term that was given to lions found maybe down in that southwestern region of South Africa. But I don't know. I've never heard of a Cape lion being spoken about. So it's an interesting question, Richard. And even with us being out there all the time, there are still things that we haven't heard of. But I do think that it might be people referring to lions just found in their area, and they then refer to them as maybe the Cape lion or the Central African lion, or whatever the case may be. Listen to the cubs calling. So interesting question, but I've never heard of a Cape lion, and I wonder if there are still any around. I'm sure I would have seen guiding in different areas. So I don't know. So we're going to sit with these lions a little bit longer, see what they get up to. We've got a few minutes. How long? We've still got some time left of the show. But Taylor's got some more zebra to show you.
I haven't just got any zebra to show you. I found the baby zebra. Remember the one that I was telling you about that we saw a few afternoons ago? Now it's difficult to see because they've all bunched up. There's the little head. There, is that it there? Oh, it's somewhere in here. I think it's the zebra that's standing sideways in the middle. That's the mother. And that little one there, you can see its tail just wagging, sort of between the one that's looking at us, the one that's standing sideways. That's its little bottom over there. It's a teeny tiny zebra. Now, I hope we're going to try and get a better view. It's very difficult. There we go. You can see its bum and its head, of course, on the other side. And it looks to be walking much better. We're quite far away from it, and it is very thick vegetation. So hopefully they move around and it will open up another gap for us. But I know a few of you were asking this morning, when will we see the first baby of the season? Well, all I've got to show you today is, of course, that little one's bum. But it keeps getting blocked out by the others. But let's hang tight for just a moment. You can see it shaking its head. Maybe it turns around. Here we go. Come around to the other side. Come that side. No, not that way. Everyone wants to see you. I want to show you to the world, little Zebby. And I still haven't been able to identify if it was a male or a female as of yet. And I'm quite certain that it is indeed the same zebra. We haven't seen any others running around, but there's a couple of zebra in here that are quite sort of plump. And I wonder if they're not going to give birth quite soon. So I'm going to take note and keep coming and checking these areas. And hopefully that little one will pop out and give us a better view like what we had the other afternoon. Let's just see. It looks like Mom wants to move. And maybe if Mom moves, she's the one on the left. There, that little one is going behind Mom, perhaps to reach in for a suckle. Yes, you can see its head. And you can see its little legs doing a tap dance, blending in very well with Mom. And now this is something quite nice to see. As we look at the zebra, even though it is tiny, and you can just see its little legs in between Mom's legs, and you notice that it's the same height as Mom's belly. And this is a unique adaptation, and we don't often get to see it, is that the horses, or the equids, are all born with very long legs, so that if a predator is staring at them in the distance, those stripes, of course, act as a dazzle, and they can't see which make out any individuals. And then, of course, those little ones are also hidden, because if a lion were to spot a young zebra foal, well, they're going to obviously target that. And then this way it is able to hide it in amongst the herd and almost become invisible. Unless they disperse, then it'll be a little bit of a problem. Come on, little one, show yourself. You can just see its tail swishing around. And that's when you know it's small, if it is still being hidden on the other side of Mom. All standing quite close together as well. Come on, you can do it. Perhaps still a little bit camera shy, and I think Mom is still a bit nervous to bring it out into the open. Normally they'll stick to the thicker vegetation for a couple of days, maybe even as much as a week, and until that little one is really sort of waxed on how to use its legs, then it will probably bring it out and spend some more time out in the open. Right, but it seems as though this little zebra doesn't want to be seen. Sorry, little one, but maybe we'll come and have a look again this afternoon and see if we can indeed find it. But thank you, zebra. At least we know that that little one is alive and well, though. Isn't that quite exciting? Because it's in its very vulnerable moments of its life when it just gets walking and on its legs. We know that there's lots of lions and leopards around. Well, there have been. Here's a few more that are standing here. It's very jiggy in her squeaky brakes. It's quite a nice big herd. It seems to have grown, though, since the last time I saw the zebra, though this particular herd, so maybe a couple more members have decided to join in. Safety in numbers, of course, is the most important way to go about life out here in the wilderness. And now you can also see all that nice grass that's come through. So I'm sure they are all very happy. Now, something else that I've always wondered about is, David, can you see those little black things on the inside of their legs? Now, those are called chestnuts. We used to call them chestnuts on the horses. And I have heard so many different things as to what the function of a chestnut is. Now, I haven't read anything that has given a sort of definite theory as to what it is. I've heard from it being sort of like a sticky pad that joins the two front legs together, that stops the foal from kicking around in the development stages when it's developing in the womb. I've heard that it is a type of a scent gland, that somehow it releases a pheromone of some kind. And I've also heard that it is a digit, that once they had a couple more digits to them, and apparently that was one of them. Now, however, I'm not so sure of either three of the things that I've told you, and I don't think we will know for too much longer. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say goodbye to you, but I hope that you've enjoyed us. It's been such a wonderful morning out here. A bit drizzly and damp to begin with, but we've dried out nicely. David stood with his wings out, drying off. He doesn't look too miserable anymore, and it's been wonderful. So from myself and David, we'll probably catch you in the afternoon for the sunset safari. But let's go back across to Byron.
And we've just still got these little cubs playing around the females. It looks like one stuck in the tree there. Look at that. Very, very playful. And then, look at that. They're feeding on that other buffalo. Can you believe it already? So they are so lucky that there's been so much food around for them. They've been very successful. And this is the second carcass, so not the one that they killed yesterday afternoon, the one that they killed yesterday morning around 10. Shana, welcome to you. You're a new viewer, and you asked for these really wild lions. They are completely wild lions, Shana. We are in the Greater Kruger National Park, a game reserve which is around 3.2 million hectares, so somewhere around 7 million acres of land. All these animals are completely free roaming and wild, and we are just on safari and we're able to bring it to you live. So it's great that you can join us. And the people in these areas and where we are, the game reserves, we don't interfere with these animals because they are wild, but we are able to view and follow and track and find them. It's not always easy. We've been fortunate that these lions killed a buffalo yesterday very close to our camp, and we heard them during the course of the evening. And earlier this morning we could hear them roaring, and we went back and they were still around. So it's great to see them. You join us again in the afternoon when we will be live again for our sunset safari. Looks like they might just, these cubs hassling the mother a little bit. And I think she's probably just going to go look for a bit of shade perhaps, or lie under a thicket. So these lions will most likely spend most of the day around here. There's food, they're not far from the water. It's been wonderful to see them this morning and see all the interaction with these cubs and with the lionesses and the male. There is a male around here somewhere. I think he's still lying close to the carcass. I can't see him at the moment. But you can see the little cubs and the lionesses feeding. So thank you again everyone for joining us this morning on our sunrise safari. It's been so wonderful to have you and to have all the questions and the comments. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you to my good friend Brian and the Thumb for keeping me company and for filming this morning. And thanks Taylor and Dave on the other vehicle. And thank you to the voices in my head, Kirsten and Lou in the final control. Thank you very much, and we will see you this afternoon again for our sunset safari. Don't forget to join us live later on. And we will see you then. Have a wonderful day or evening wherever you are around the world, and we'll see you on our next drive. Thank you and goodbye, everyone.